In a massively unexpected move, the United States is now blocking the Strait of Hormuz, sending the price of oil skyrocketing. Guys, this seems maybe like the most unexpected move, the most surprising thing we could have possibly seen after weeks of the United States begging Iran to open the strait. But guys, this might be one of the craziest, most insane 4D chess moves we could have ever seen. In this video, we're going to talk about exactly what is going on here. What is the calculus? Are we just spitballing, shooting at anything and hoping something works? Or could this possibly be the thing that changes everything moving forward? In this video, I want to show you the repercussions of what we just saw. Guys, this was one of the most shocking, unexpected things we could have possibly seen in this situation in the Middle East right now. We're also going to be talking about XRP price charts at the end of the video, so make sure to stick around for that. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who likes and subscribes. And with that said, let's jump right into it. And I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start out this video and jump right into what we're seeing taking place in the Middle East right now. Because guys, when I first read the headline before I dug into this, I was like, how does this make any sense? After weeks of the United States saying that they wanted Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, that they were going to keep bombing Iran until they opened the strait, we now see the United States doing a complete 180 and saying that they are now going to be the ones closing the Strait of Hormuz. Now, when you listen to this on the surface, you are thinking that this is a catastrophe, a global disaster. But guys, it is a lot different when you look at the numbers of what's taking place here. And it makes you wonder if this entire thing was actually planned from the start. If we take a look at, first of all, who actually gets their oil through the Strait of Hormuz, guys, it's actually mostly China. Now, China gets about 38% of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States just closed it. Now, the reason why the United States is closing the strait is because essentially before, what Iran was doing was just preventing the United States from going through the strait or any other countries, and China was still going through freely. The United States couldn't get Iran to actually open the strait. There was always a risk that a random tanker or a random ship was going to get shot by Iran's military. But what the United States realized is Iran is fine shooting these random ships, but they're not going to be shooting the United States Navy ships. The United States Navy ships are just too powerful. So the United States said, okay, rather than Iran being the one who dictates when people go in and out, and China gets to go in and out freely, this can get dragged on forever, let's just close the entire thing. The United States doesn't get any oil through the Strait of Hormuz anyway. Take a look at this. It's mostly China, the rest of Asia, India, South Korea, and Japan, and a little bit of Europe. That's who's getting oil through the Strait of Hormuz. So the United States is saying, if we just block this thing up, right, if we just completely close it, well, then China is going to have to force Iran to open this thing anyway. China is the power on the other side of Iran who's supplying probably the majority of the high-tech weapons and keeping this thing going. So right now, with Iran controlling and blocking the Strait of Hormuz, China still gets to come through and trade freely through that strait and keep their oil flowing. But if the United States is blocking it, then no one is going through. And the thing that completely flips this entire thing on its head is now China is going to Iran, who is Iran's ally, and saying, look, you have to open this thing. China cannot afford for 38% of their supply to not be flowing into the mainland. That is a massive problem, and it completely flips this entire thing on its head. Now, rather than the United States asking Iran to open the strait, because, well, the United States is Iran's biggest enemy at this point, they're not going to do it for the United States. Now, China, Iran's ally, is going to be having to go to Iran and actually pushing them to make an agreement on the other side of this. Now, the other thing this does is it essentially cuts off all money coming into Iran. Iran is making all their money off exports coming through the Strait of Hormuz or coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. So this is going to completely cut off any amount of money Iran is able to make. And what that's going to do is send Iran's currency even more into a deflationary spiral. And if you take a look at what is happening to Iran's currency right now, it is already getting absolutely decimated. If you take a look at what this conflict has done, it has essentially sent Iran's currency to zero. It's almost worthless at this point. It was already extremely worthless, but the shots they're taking on that front, now with no ability to make any money off the export of oil is going to put them in extremely difficult situations, especially now that their own partners or their own allies are going to be essentially begging them to end this thing as well. The position this puts China in is extremely difficult, and this is just a complete 180 on the entire strategy the United States was bringing forward, and it actually makes a ton of sense. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the United States going to do? Well, the United States actually makes enough oil on its own with Venezuela where it really doesn't need to touch any of that. And now ships are flowing into the United States all around the globe to go get the United States' excess oil. So take a look at what just happened here. This was a massive flip. Now, the parties who are really concerned about getting their oil is really China and the rest of Asia. They are the people who are really caught off by the United States blocking the Strait of Hormuz. The rest of the world is going to start flowing over to the United States. Iran can't touch mainland United States. They have no power over that. So now the negotiation really is the United States saying, Iran, you can't have a nuclear weapon, and China saying, Iran, you have to open the strait because we need to get our oil through that strait. It's a massive flip on what we're watching. Now, headlines are picking up, I believe, on the wrong issue. Headlines are picking up right now on the idea that, oh, the strait's closed again, that this is some huge issue, but it's not really an issue for the countries that make up a lot of the investing landscape. You see China's market fairly cut off and a lot of Asia cut off from what you see in the United States stock market, and I would argue what controls the cryptocurrency market. That whole segment is going to have a massive issue with what's taking place in terms of the United States' new blockade. But what's happening in the United States is a very different thing. What's happening in the United States, I would argue, is going to have an impact on oil prices, but not nearly to the degree that's happening in these other countries in terms of the oil just not flowing there. And I believe this is just going to twist Iran's arm more to make a deal. I believe, based on the talks we were hearing over the weekend, they were already very close, but this could be one of those things that just makes it impossible for them to keep this up. If China is banging on their door telling them that they need to get ships through that strait, guess what? Iran's only going to have so much leverage. It's one thing to be putting up a fight against the United States, but putting up a fight against China as well, that's just not going to work. And China's already coming out of an extremely difficult recessionary event. They are not going to want to have any additional pressures through what's going on here. So to just zoom out and take one last quick look at what we just saw, because this is absolutely fascinating. Guys, the entire equation just got flipped. Rather than the main focus being on Iran and the United States in terms of the impact that Iran is trying to inflict on the US, this entire equation just got completely changed, and now China is the biggest loser on what is going on with the strait. The strait was Iran's only leverage, and now their leverage is no longer impacting the US, it's impacting their biggest, most powerful ally. I believe this is going to drive us extremely close to resolution and some kind of long-term negotiation here. And although we're seeing some negative pressure on the markets, just in the early days of the United States saying that they're going to block the strait, because I think a lot of people are still confused by this, you are now seeing that we are in firm rebound territory on Bitcoin's RSI in terms of the long-term chart. And as we've talked about before, this is a territory that is almost never not marked a long-term bottom for Bitcoin. I can just say, guys, if you are new to crypto or you're still building your position in crypto, which I feel like a lot of people are because a lot of people recognize how early we are to such a transformational industry. If you are ever buying at these zones when the RSI is down at these low levels, you have never not been buying at the bottom. These are historically the times to buy. And I know a lot of you are probably sitting there like, oh, this dip is going on forever. Oh, people are always saying it's time to buy, blah, 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 blah. Guys, take a look at the XRP price chart. It's the same exact thing. These are the times where you cannot go wrong with purchasing. It's a fire sale on the market. The market is totally mispricing these digital assets. Everything we're watching in terms of this conflict is only fueling the importance of these decentralized currencies. I mean, Iran is freaking taking cryptocurrency now as ships were going through the strait when they still had control of it. No one wants to use the United States dollar for trade anymore. The United States is seizing assets. They're blacklisting countries from certain payment systems. This whole thing is leading us dramatically and extremely fast towards a new system. A system where one party like the United States can't take control and seize people's assets, kick them out of systems, and destroy their liquidity profile. The world desperately needs a way to transact and interact with value without a central counterparty controlling the system. That is everything cryptocurrencies are looking to bring to the world. And it's situations like we're going through right now that create fear in the market, that sell off the market, that make people sell assets that are seemed risky and growth assets. But if you understand the fundamentals of what you're investing into, it's events like this that bring us dramatically closer to what the end game actually is. It's a world where the United States dollar is not the petrodollar. It's a world where the United States dollar is not the currency that every country on earth is forced to interact with. What we are moving towards is a world where there is neutral, decentralized liquidity separating each fiat currency from one another. And XRP is perfectly positioned to win that role. What we're seeing right now is nothing more than the market not understanding where we really are. What we're watching is 2008 causing everyone to sell off their Amazon and Google. But the people who understood that 2008 was only going to make the internet more important, only going to make internet-style banking, the flow of information more valuable, the people who understood that and invested heavier into the adoption of the internet were the people who won big. But guys, now it's even easier than ever because the charts are literally telling you if you ever, and I mean ever, buy XRP, Bitcoin, or any high quality blue chip digital asset when they are at these lows right here, you are buying at historically good pricing levels. Feels so often people get confused, they get lost. They're like, I don't know if this is a good price. I don't know if I should be buying. This is like screaming bulletin, red flashing lights. This is where you should be buying. And guys, 4 to 5 months from now, everyone's going to be looking back and saying, I can't believe I didn't buy. This war turned into nothing. Oil's going back down. Things are going back to normal like they always do, except now we're getting clarity. Now, more than ever, people are seeing the need for these digital assets. This is one of these global events that just makes everyone get it. And I just think that people who come out of this understanding that and understanding the opportunity are set to win massive. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. And for now, Mickle out.